Thank you so much, first of all, to this extraordinary set of creative teams. I think we can all agree that this was a stunning production and one that leaves us all in awe of what you've achieved this evening. So if we may have another round of applause for the directing team. Fred and Lauren too. Yes. I just would like to open with a few general questions, and generally what we do then is to open the floor for some questions from the audience. I think in some ways this talk pierces the beauty of what was created here, so it is difficult for me to find adequate questions and words once we've experienced something so exceptional. And I've seen many Hamlets, but this one is so moving, so emotionally clean and clear and stunning. And I guess I would begin by saying I'd love to hear more about how your process builds these relationships that we see, which have such depth and which I think appear to grow as this production has matured. Would you like to
sure.
first speak to this?
That's okay. You can hear me, can you? Sorry. Yes, okay. Nick and I, we're a partnership, we're partners, and the way we like to work, I'm a director, Nick's a designer, we like to meet a group of actors, and we met this group of actors by doing Oedipus with them, and loved them, and wanted to work with them. And so we don't really have vision in that sense, you know. I always want to be protected from visionaries in politics as well as in art. And we wanted to do a good play with them. And that's why we chose Hamlet, because we thought it was a very good play to do with these people. But there was no biting reason other than that, consciously. But what I have discovered in a strange way is that we say we choose plays for practical reasons. And then when it's a great play, it changes and it reveals itself in a completely different way each time you do it. And it suddenly seems like it has more resonance now for particular reasons. I can't quite say what they are, but that's all I can say. So I'd just like you to, the point I'd just like to make is it's chosen just because Nick and I want to be with these people, work with them on this play and to be close and share humanity as possible. And to be close with you, you know, to share some of these experiences that frighten us, confuse us, and amuse us, or whatever, but they help us share something. So that's all, really.
Would you like to speak to the process as well?
While you were asking the question, I was remembering that upon our first meeting, as Declan was saying, for Oedipus first, when we worked in Craiova together, and then for Hamlet, I remember both of Nick and Declan talking about working on the performance, about the process in itself. When we were still in the rehearsal room, saying that if we managed to build this performance here in this rehearsal room with no costumes, no set design, no music, no special lights, nothing, then we can think that we have managed to tell the story properly. And if we always think about, we'll add this, we'll do that, then we will have a show. We don't really have a show. And I believe that most of the periods of working on Oedipus and Hamlet as well worked like that. It was mostly focused on the actors and what was happening in the room. And this is something that is central to usually the process that happens in the rehearsal room, and it happened for Hamlet. And it's basically what you see on stage, that is based on the way the relationships are built and what happens on stage here and now between the actors.
Would you like to speak, I think, a little bit to this juxtaposition between the silence at the end and the extraordinary number of words that you speak with such dexterity and fluidity and clarity? What does that contrast feel like to play, and what did it mean to you to do the end in silence? May I ask?
Nu știu dacă am răspuns pentru întrebare, cred că am vorbit destul în timpul piesei, nu mai pot acum să mai zic mare lucru. Atât. Și adică poate să răspundă la întrebarea asta spectatorii sau Declan sau cei care...
It is a difficult answer for him to give to this question because he has been talking throughout the show all about this. He has been sort of saying the story about this throughout the show, and maybe the best thing would be for the audience to have their own answers to this question, to this opposition or juxtaposition of silence and words.
And may I ask Nick a little bit about your thoughts as they emerged and developed over the creative process with the palette and this stunning, modern design, and even this shape, which I thought was just so beautiful in the way the actors worked in the space?
Well, one of the things that we're able to do working in this particular theatre, and we're allowed to do, is perform actually on the stage. So what happens is on the main stage, which is quite a large stage, but it enables us, and we're very privileged to be able to do that. Our producers there, Vlad Dragulescu and Alexei Borianu, allow us to play on the stage to an intimate audience, smaller than tonight, actually. And the choice we made was to play it like this, in traverse. We call it in traverse, bifrontal. And I felt that it eliminates any possibility of any scenery, which I love, because I prefer to do as little work as possible as a designer. And but it throws into relief what you've just been talking about, which is the relationship between all these characters.
And also, I think it was really beautiful to see every loss on stage, every single one. And I think I would like to hear what the audience has to say, or questions that you may have as well about particularly the ending, and seeing each and every character present with us, and also throughout the play following their death. Do you want to comment at all, Vlad, on how it changed your view of performing, to see these people with you? You were able to play directly to them.
I spoke a lot during the show, so I think I must remain silent now.
It's exhausted. Yeah, that's understandable. Did you want to add anything there too about this act of speaking to, or perhaps Declan would like to, the act of speaking to and working with the characters who have gone?
Yes, I think that's very important. I think in one way, people don't die. Their absence weighs on us so heavily that they're so present. And we talk to people, and their mothers and fathers and grandparents are present. So that's one thing. I just want to say about words. One of the things that Shakespeare writes about, which is so clever, is he writes about how we talk too much. And how we use too many words, and how incredibly boring we are. And can you imagine anything worse than being caught in a lift with any of Shakespeare's characters? Possibly with me, but they talk so much, and they talk about themselves, but that's part of the drama. That's part of the drama, because a human being we look like one thing, but in fact we're a relationship with ourselves. We see ourselves. All animals perform, but we see ourselves performing, and in a way that gives us all sorts of wonderful advantages and disadvantages. But we are quite strange like that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that it's in that world that Shakespeare lives. Yeah, and I think that the words, it's so important. There's so many little themes in it. Shakespeare doesn't mean anything. The play doesn't mean anything. There's no message in the play. That isn't what matters. What matters is that these encounters are shared between the characters and with you, and it sort of generously connects into the audience, so that it's about a series of encounters. And what I mean by an encounter is, if you think of that image of a snake with two heads, so you don't know which one is the snake. In a way, that's what an encounter is. That if I really meet you, if we really meet each other, if we have a relationship of any sort, really, you change me and I change you. And that's what's so wonderful about an encounter and so completely terrifying about it at the same time. That's why we love social media, because we can sort of encounter without actually encountering, and we spend so much time sort of pretending to encounter and not encountering. So what am I saying? I'm just saying that's why I think this sort of theatre is very important, and that's why, you know, to do a great play very close up, in which you witness the encounters and you're part of the encounter, because the audience's close presence to the actors changes the performance every night. And I love it, because Nick and I can come and see it, and then it's going to be different every night. It's quite strange, particularly in Oedipus, in which the audience is completely ambulatory.
It was stunning with the house lights up a little bit as well. I think this was really, really a deep connection that you form between the actors and the audience, that we rarely had them down except in the moments of Ghost. And I felt a real connection. I mean, several actors happened to just light upon my face and your face and other people's faces as they were telling us the story, and it felt very personal and very specific. And in that sense, extremely emotional. I mean, really, really moving. And so I've been asked not to, as Declan was saying, not to talk too much. So I would love to hear questions from the audience, and we welcome anything that perhaps I haven't covered that you would like to ask this wonderful creative team that we are really, really blessed to have with us in Hong Kong. Can I bring the microphone? My esteemed colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. It was an excellent performance, thoroughly absorbing. My question is a very broad one. I had the good fortune to see Jan Karamidou play Hamlet 150 years ago. But at that time, it was a very political performance, because the arts mattered in the country. The book queues were as long as the bread queues. And my question is really, these days, with so much distraction, so much online stuff, what's the state of live theatre, in your experience, in Romania today?
Is it for me?
Nick and I don't live in Romania, so we'll ask a Romanian to answer that.
Well, I think comparing with another European countries, I think the state is like very supportive with the theater. And I think that Romania is fortunate enough to get money from the state and not be capitalized. So that's a big plus for us. Second, on the other hand, we have companies. We are employed like for a long time in the theaters. In Germany, in Spain, in other countries, that's not possible anymore. They all have projects. So we have a job like for actors. In other countries, like it's very difficult to be an actor and to call acting a job. So I think Romania is a very good place to do theater now, and we have Declan there, so that's a plus.
I'd really like to add to that. It's a very important point that Vlad has made, that there's a very humane system of permanent companies, which means that people stay together, and Nick and I absolutely love it. Whereas if we work in England or America, very nice people, but you're about to do a very intimate thing, like a play like Hamlet, which is intimate, personal. It's about, the dark parts of your soul. And it just seems rather, if you come in on a Monday morning and there are 20 strangers there whom you've met through auditions, it seems, the older I get, it seems more and more inappropriate somehow, So I love these actors so much. Nick said, we're going to do Cherry Orchard with them. But it's just for the joy of being together and working on a great play with them. But that fact that they're together as a group is everything. Because the thing about theatre is it's not in the individual or about life, I don't think. It's about the space between us. It's the space between us that fills with the life. And that's what happens with the audience. That's why the theatre doesn't make any sense unless you're there. And that's why theatre is so different. I'll stop talking in a minute. But that's why theatre really matters as opposed to film. I love film. I watch television every night, but to relax. I mean, I couldn't binge watch Shakespeare or Sophocles. You know, I have it in short doses, but it's like a shot of vodka. It's not like drinking, because when you're watching television or film, there's no such thing as now. But in live theatre, there is sort of such a thing as now, and you're present with us now. And that's why when theatre is bad, it is so much worse than film can ever be. But that's also why theatre is good. It takes you somewhere else because of this synchronicity of existence. Anyway, sorry, that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, yes, we have another one.
This gentleman wants to ask.
Thank you. Just swap microphones.
Tag, yeah.
Thank you. I found this a very interesting and brilliant production. Before I came, I was wondering how could you make the play within 2 hours, and what are the cuts you're going to make, if you're going to make any cuts. And then I noticed before Laertes left for France, the father gave a speech, Polonaise gave a speech to the son, but you cut it in this production. And I was wondering why you made that choice of cutting that monologue, and what are the other changes you had to make in order to make it within 2 hours. Thank you.
Well, it's always good to cut Hamlet. People like that. But we discovered something. The other thing is that we want that intensity of contact with the audience. And actually, it's very tiring. To be absolutely intensely there with somebody is really tiring. It's not relaxing. I mean, you can be half in. If you're binge watching on Netflix, you're fine. You can come in and out, but it doesn't exhaust you. But actually, these experiences are really exhausting. But it was Nick's idea, and I handed it over to him to cut Horatio. Because if you cut Horatio, it forces Hamlet into a more direct relationship with the audience. And I'm really happy that Nick, I always get Nick to cut the plays. And what do you want to say, Nick?
Well, I have to say it's a slight advantage in we're dealing in a foreign language, because Horatio has very famous lines, which if you cut in English, you would hear gasps from the critics or whoever knew the text. And I'm afraid there are people in England who sit, with the text in front of them, looking at the text in order to check, that they've done the full text. That has been seen to happen. We don't have this problem in Romania, thank God. But Horatio, if you think about it, Horatio has no dramatic function at all. He's just somebody to talk to. And I felt slightly guilty because he's the only really nice person in the play. And we cut him. So.
I think Shakespeare's not at his best with nice people. I think it's like Camillo in The Winter's Tale. It's actually, he does have a very important plot function.
I think what you were able to say with the silence at the end of the play brings to your point earlier that the words are not every single word is necessary. There was so much revelation in that final scene. I just have to compliment you again for the insight that I felt that brought. As much as I love the words and that's, have made a career on it, that was revelatory. I think many people would agree.
But the thing about Shakespeare is that he's forced, like I am now talking to, he's forced to use words to communicate. And words aren't very good at communication. And we get kind of conned, really. And there's almost a kind of consumer conspiracy to say if you can't say it in words, it doesn't exist. But we know that that's not true also. And not only that, but the most important things in the world are the things that you cannot put into words. And Shakespeare's plays are all about, I think, the inadequacy of words. It's the total inadequacy of the words. So it's what the words indicate by their absence. It's things like that. And it's the gaps between the words that matters. So it's very strange. I think all great writers know that they know that the basic tools that they've got don't work very well. A bit. And you have to supply the rest.
That's a beautiful point. I think, Vlad, you have quite a few lists. There are a number of times when Hamlet starts to explain something and it feels it's inadequate, so he starts it again and says it in a slightly different way, or lists several different things to kind of try to get to the point. And yet I feel like in some of the cuts you were able to find clarity, maybe. Would you like to comment
the clarity comes from the audience and from the partners. So each time I look at you people, so the people are from the audience, I get some energy, and I use that energy. So basically, everything is outside of myself, and it's so much easier just to rely on them, on you, because your attention and your energy feeds me.
Or even
so,
the lack of it.
Or even the lack, especially the lack of it. Yeah. So. I really don't know how I use it. I just use it as we talk, and I just use the eyes, the expression, or what I feel that is going through your head when you're standing there and looking at me, and that's very valuable to me, because I understood that thanks to Declan, I understood that everything is outside of myself. So. And that makes things really, really easy at some point.
And I would add something to what Vlad was saying earlier about the fact that he doesn't think about the how. It's something that we are talking about during the rehearsal process, that we never tend to focus on the how, but rather about what's happening, about the relationship with the others, but not in finding the how are we going to react to that, but just react to whatever comes. And yes, sometimes maybe it's a non-reaction, or maybe it's something that you don't like to receive, and it's all the more, I know, it's offering you even more when there's something that you don't expect to receive, or something that you don't want to receive. It gives you even more when you are on stage, and that is both valid for working with the partners on stage and also with the audience, that actors on stage in Hamlet are doing it pretty often.
And it's strange because you really don't know if you're on the road, on the good road. So I always question myself, was it okay? Did you understand? Did you not understand? So I'm always not sure of what I'm doing. It sounds a little confusing, but it's how I feel.
Yes, but it's also important that you don't know. Because it's very important that we take on board the fact that we don't know. Heraclitus said famously, the only constant is change. The only thing that we can be sure of is change, which is brilliant and true. And the only thing we can be sure of is uncertainty. But I'd always like to add a comma after that, is that we don't know where we're going, and we don't like it. That's the important part, because that's the sloping playing field. We don't bloody like it. So our condition, that we don't know where we're going, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, we just don't like it. And I remember my mother always used to say to me, well, you can like it or lump it, she would say, meaning in a broad Irish accent. And I used to get fed up when she said that. But actually, we don't like it. We don't like the fact that things are uncertain. And so that's the bravery of an actor like Vlad, because you don't actually know where you're going. That's why it's fatal when people start... The two dreadful things that I hear in rehearsal sometimes, and I have to say, praise be in Romania, I've never heard it. One is, what story are we telling here? And you think, well, I'm not really trying to tell a story. I'm trying to realize these encounters. And then the other one, of course, is, are we being truthful here? That's dreadfully... Truth is a very violent word because it assumes somebody knows what it is. Hamlet sees one thing. Well, Hamlet sees many different truths. That's the problem of being a human being. And that's the life that Shakespeare is able to share with us. So it's important to humbly accept that we don't know where we're going. Thank you.
There's a question there.
I kind of disagree. I think Horatio is a very important character because he's first like a sounding board for Hamlet, and second, he's like the witness of the whole thing, right? So was it your intention to kind of disperse this character so that he's kind of part Hamlet and part us as audience? That's one question. And then second, I really love the fact that the ghosts, the dead people, are vertical. Like that you were interacting with the dead in such a lively way, and I really found it very profound and very, it was very unique. I don't think I've ever seen a performance like that when you are having this kind of very direct eye contact or like interaction with the dead. That was brilliant. The final question, sorry, I have a lot of questions, which is about the set. So it was like the final, when there was the final fight, the duel, and then I thought, okay, this makes sense, the set makes sense. So it was all designed for them to have this final fight. Was that the set design? Like, was that how you had the end in mind when you designed the set, or was it like, did it gradually come, or gradually clicked into place? Yeah, thank you.
I think it was a bit more gradual than designing it from the end, and that we'd alighted on the idea of doing a traverse, but what I'd thought of was, in a way, the court that you see at the beginning is in the light. It's a celebration, it's a wedding. And Hamlet is a dark creature who's lurking around in the darkness, so you have both light and dark. And so it actually sprang from that more than designing for it. Then you think, oh, it'd be quite good for the duel at the end. Yes, that's kind of how you think. As for Horatio, yes, you're right, he is a witness for the whole thing, but do you need to have a witness for the whole thing? And I must say, I find it very odd of Shakespeare that he goes to such trouble at the beginning to set up so many people seeing the ghost. And that I really don't understand. I mean, it must have been something for that current audience to make it really real for Hamlet. So that's, whereas, to be honest, I don't think it's necessary for our audiences now because they're more, I don't know, educated about theatre. I don't know. But then the irony is that Gertrude doesn't see the ghost because I think, I talk about this all the time, it's very boring, but Shakespeare's very pragmatic, and it suited him that everybody sees the ghost, and it suited him dramatically that Gertrude doesn't. Does that answer your question? Was there another question?
I want to tell you an intimate but funny story that's quite good. Nick sat up in bed 5 days ago and said, "Why do so many people see the ghost at the beginning?" I said, "What?" You've been dreaming it. So that's a home life. That's quite a unique occurrence, though. Sorry, I trivialised the conversation. It was about something deep. I mean, we'd be very happy to do Hamlet again with Horatio. We did the last time that we did was a ballet at the Bolshoi. We had Horatio, and we had Horatio in our first English Hamlet. It's how it happened this time. But if I may say one thing, just in general, is you didn't say why did you do this, but that's always hovering there. And one of the binge things we watch on television are detective series, and they normally start with a gruesome discovery, and then various red herrings, false leads, and then you discover the cause, you discover the motive, and the police run around saying, we haven't established motive. Why? Why did this happen? What is the motive? In previous incarnations, Nick and I were both lawyers, and actually they're not interested in motive. The judges aren't interested in motive. The law actually isn't interested in motive. It's interested a little bit in intention, but not motive. All that the judges and the law and the police are interested in is what happened. The people who like motive are, of course, juries. Juries love motive. We all love motives. And we all get glued to this terrible TV series on it, and you're on episode 10, and you still don't know who did it. And you keep thinking, I will watch another one. Because we want there to be, we want to find a reason for everything. We want to find the thing, the first cause that puts everything in motion. But the older I get, the more I doubt that it works necessarily in that order. And our experience of life working together is that you do things and then well afterwards you discover why you did them. That's the really strange thing about life, I think. Oh, you must have done this in order to do that. No, we did that, and then it seems like it was for a motive, but it wasn't. It's just what happened. I don't know how it works, but I thought I'd add that there.
Thank you. First, I want to say this is a great show. And because I didn't learn anything about Shakespeare, I just like to see drama or something like that. So I didn't have any experience or expected how the show is, the style is what. So I enjoy any time. And so at the end, the silence, I think is so beautiful. And I have pay attention to everything. If I don't know the story, why the mother, the queen, during the wine will die, and because I know the story, so I know how they fight and will die. If no word is so interesting to feel the emotion and feel the why, and any time is the different experience. And I saw one thing when they need to fight. Give to him something here, drop in the floor. So the king, the new king. This is not expect like this. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Claudius reacted to something that happened in the audience, and that you're just so alive. You're very alive. You're very attentive to bring up the word that Declan was using before. The attention to detail, to the words and to the silences and to the spaces between the actors. Just stunning work. Really stunning work. And I have been encouraged to keep it to around this time. So if I don't have an additional question, I would like to officially thank this amazing creative team, Chik Ba Jiao, with Declan Donnellan and Nick Ormerod. We are just so honored to have you here with this production, with Marin Secus. We are so delighted to have had your presence here in Hong Kong. I wish to thank Tang Shu-wing for being the director of this stunning Shakespeare Festival in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong International Shakespeare Festival. Every 2 years, this is our second, and he has brought 10 productions to Hong Kong overall this year. Thank you so much, Shu-wing. And I think if you are really interested in some of the work that the two companies have been done together, there are 2 books by the Chik Ba Jiao team, by Declan and Nick. There is The Actor and the Target. You should look, you should read. And The Actor and the Stage. Make that available and part of your vocabulary in your work. And in addition, there is a documentary just released this year called Acting, by the documentary filmmaker Sophie Fiennes, and it is available now, and it's a really in-depth look at the work that Nick and Declan do with actors in the UK. And I think what's been successful, if I may say, about this is that we have not adequately summarized or in any way excavated this production. We, I hope, have left the mystery to some degree in your hearts and minds so that you can go away and think about it extensively and deeply in your own ways and find your own sense of meaning. Would you like to finish up by saying anything? And I just wish to thank you again so very much.
No, I'd just like to thank you, Christian, and also Cheng, if I may, for the kind generosity and the attentiveness we've received here and how well we've been looked after in Hong Kong. And I think there are a lot of things in Chinese philosophy, the value of emptiness and so on, that really matters a huge amount to us in rehearsal, because you can't encounter unless you're prepared to empty a bit. That's the mystery, and it's something that goes very deep into the Tao. Anyway, that's all I would say. So it's lovely to be here. We did come here once before, with Hamlet in English in 1999, when Hong Kong was a very different place. Anyway, but thank you so much. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you.